Hello, good morning. This is Dr. Iftikhar Ahmed Ansari, Department of Political Science, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. Friends, today I'll be talking about one of the theories of democracy, and this theory is called elitist theory of democracy. Now, these theories are important in understanding the ideals and ideas which are expressed from time to time, and theories theorize and differentiate it from other ideas and also lays down its merits and demerits so that it may be understood in full clarity. Now, the so-called scientific temper or skeptical attitude or behavioral approach or the love for value-free study of politics, that is what the American political scientists who came to identify themselves with, their approach gave birth to a new liberal theory of democracy during the past 60-70 years. This is known as the elitist theory of democracy. Now, traces of this theory are found in writings of Wilfredo Pareto, then Mosca, Robert Michels, James Burnham. So, these writers, they doubted the reality of classical theory and maintained that democracy in its classical sense as the government of the people is an impossibility in practice. Now, according to them, even the present times, every government is oligarchical, in which power and influence is shared only by some leaders or ruling elite. Though the political elite may give the slogan will of the people or political interest or majority rule or responsible government or popular sovereignty to please or bluff the people, though there may be elections once every 5 or 7 years, yet political organizations demand that political power should vest in the minority, that is the elite, rather than the majority, that is the people. So, every political system is divided into the governors and the governed. And the governors are always a minority class, that is the elite class, who exclusively share power and influence, and the government of the people is a sheer fantasy, it's a myth, a deceptive concept which is impossible in practice. So, wherever there is government, practical organization or governors, political authority will vest in political elite because only they provide the leadership. So, all the elitist theory deny that there can be any real sense government by the people. Similarly, Aaron writes, it is quite impossible for the government of a society to be in the hands of any but few. There is government for the people, there is no government by the people. Now, talking about elitist theory and its meaning, we find that this theory does not accept the concept of political equality at the very first instance, and as the governors and governed, they are unequals. They can never be equal, and governors, in spite of their declaration of being servant or maid servant or sevika of the people, the masses, are superior to the governed. So, Aristotle maintained that the governors and the governed are determined by birth itself. But the supporters of elitist theory do not accept inequality by birth. Instead, they maintain that the basis of inclusion in elite is higher capability or higher ability, higher knowledge or higher level of character, efficiency, wealth or skill. Now, if you see the development of this theory, we find that during the 19th century, Karl Marx gave a scientific theory of ruling class and maintained that in a class divided society, the economically dominant class is always the ruling class. So the elitist theory was put forward by liberal sociologists in opposition to this Marxist view. And Baltimore writes, the idea of elites was originally conceived in opposition to the idea of social classes. So historically, the concept of elite originated in the works of Pareto, Mosca, Michels, and the supporters of the theory gave the idea of circulation of elites. Now, which meant that elite is not a static concept, and they rejected the Marxian idea of class and classless society on the basis that there is in every society there will always remain an elite which will enjoy political power. In the beginning, the elitist theory was in opposition to socialism and democracy. Now, its mainly two concepts were undemocratic in nature. The first was that it basically believes in inequality among the people on the basis of difference in abilities. And the second, that in every society the political power is shared by the minority rather than the majority. But many economists and behavioral political scientists and others have built up the elite theory of democracy on the argument that if there is a competition between the elites for the people's vote, that the people vote in periodic election to choose the ruling elite, then in spite of ruling elite, there will be democracy. Some of the exponents of the elite theory of democracy are Schumpeter, Dahl, Sartori, Karl Mannheim, and they subscribe to the view expressed. So, the concept of elite is now basic to liberal sociology. Now, different writers have used different words for political elite, like Pareto, he used the word governing elite, Mosca called it political class, and Mills called elite. And in general terms, political elite means political power, that is the leaders and leadership. On the leading minorities about the political elite, Lasswell writes, the political elite comprises the power holder of a body politic. The power holders include the leadership and the social formations from which leaders typically come and to which accountability is maintained during that given period. Now, Mill says, we may define political elite in terms of means of power as those who occupy the command positions. And Presthus writes, we shall conceptualize elite as minorities of specialized leaders who enjoy disproportionate amount of power in community affairs. Now, political elite in general means that group of leaders which by virtue of its higher abilities control political power and provides leadership in all affairs of the society. So, there are certain assumptions on which this elitist theory is based, and the very first assumption is that in every society, they say there is a group of persons who are more able than the rest, and they form the elite of the given society. Now, Pareto writes that, so let us make a class of people who have highest indices in their branches of activity, and to that class gives the name elite. And Pareto maintains that, so we get two strata in population, a lower stratum, and he says that is of non-elite, and higher stratum, that is elite, which is divided into governing elite and non-governing elite. Thus, it is assumed that society is divided into elite and non-elite. The people with higher abilities are included in the elite, and those with lower ability is included in masses or non-elite. So, elite is elite by virtue of its superior ability, and Mosca maintained that in every society there are governors and govern, and the governors belong to the minority and are organized, whereas the governed, they belong to majority and they are unorganized. So, Mosca, he further writes, in all societies two classes of people appear, a class that rules and that class that is ruled. So, the first class, always the less numerous, performs all political functions, performs all political activities, monopolizes the power and enjoys the advantages that power brings along with that, whereas the second class, the more numerous class, is directed and controlled by the first, and the domination of an organization is through the elites, and the majority, which is unorganized, is being dominated. So, the elite is not a static concept, it is not a closed group, it is an open group which is governed by the principle of circulation of elites, and some new members are admitted into it, and some old members, they go out of it. So, sometimes the whole set of an elite is replaced by another set of elite through revolution, and Mosca maintains that give and take between elite and non-elite goes on occasionally. The elites does not rule arbitrarily. So, in the present century, we find generally three kinds of people are included in the political elite. They are intellectuals, the managers of industries, and bureaucrats. However, Mill maintains that high officials of the public corporations, politicians, and army generals are also important members of political elite. Now, the relationship of the elite and the non-elite is friendly in nature, and there is no essential conflict between the elite and non-elite. And this theory further believes that democracy arose due to the need for the maintenance of stability and equilibrium in the capitalist liberal societies. Now, it does not aim at any change in existing socio-economic situation. Its object rather is to suggest a political system which may be best suited to the existing order. So most of the traditional theories of democracy, they were largely normative and critical of societies in which they were conceived, but this theory of elitist persuasion, it believes and tries to justify the existing order, and it is based on political realities. So it undermines the political ideas and ideals, because political ideals aim at further improvement of existing order and the maintenance of status quo. So Hegel maintained that the real is rational and rational is real. So there emerged two reactions against this: progressive and reactionary. So the progressive reaction, supported by revolutionaries, is the real and that must submit to the rational. So the conservative reaction, supported by reactionaries and elitist theory of democracy, is the rational that must admit itself to the real. So that is what they believe in. So everything that is rational is real, and that is what it should be followed. So this theory does not agree that elites are against democracy. It rather maintains that those elites who do not follow democracy are not the part of the liberal democratic system. So political power should be vested in the duly elected political elites, and democracy is the rule of elites to which every man with required ability and experience can have an open entry. So the elite should be extensive, and in a democracy, though the elite is there, it is openly recruited and it is closer in general public. So the nature of the elite will be plural, it will be competing one. This is the theory of democratic pluralism, in which power is scattered through the wide variety of elite occupations and occupants, that no group can actively dominate the other. So the government thus becomes one of the compromise of mediating between the interest of different groups, a situation of balance and equilibrium. So this theory emphasizes the open, plural and competing nature of the elites. People's participation in policy making is neither possible nor appropriate, that is what it believes, and the people are not supposed to decide the political issues, because the voters' role is not to decide political issues, than to choose the representatives who will carry out those decisions. So it is rather to choose the men who will do the deciding. So citizens' role is simply to choose between sets of politicians periodically at election time. Now this theory proposes that policy making is a complex affair and it cannot be entrusted to the inexperienced public. Only expert leaders can perform the function well, and it believes in the government by experts instead of government by the people. So the elitist theory of democracy does not give importance to ideologies and emphasizes mainly stability and equilibrium in a political system for success of democracy. So there are certain characteristics which are unique to this theory, which believes that the elites must have faith in democratic values and processes. Secondly, the elites should represent all the sections of society. Now this will create a confidence of all people in the elite. Then these people should interfere the least in the affairs of the concerned elites, and the elite should be experienced and able, and they should not remain aloof from general masses, and they should have the best possible rapport with the masses and must have an open exchange of views with the people. And further, they must be plural and must compete for the people's vote. So the elite must be an open one. People with high ability must have an open entry into it, and circulation of elite must be possible. So the elite, they believe in the politics of consensus rather than the politics of conflict, and there must not be a great ideological differences between the elites. Thus, we find in elitist theory of democracy, which is formulated in the past 60 to 70 years, which is based on reality of the Western liberal democracies. Now, its comparison with classical theory will further clarify what it stands for. So now we talk about the difference with classical liberal. Now both the theories, classical and elitist, they are liberal political theories, and the main difference between these theories lies in the fact that the classical theory was formulated during the progressive epoch of liberalism during the 17th, 18th and 19th centuries, whereas the elitist theory was formulated during the conservative phase, that is the present century of liberalism. Now during the 17th and 18th century, liberalism was fighting a progressive battle against the reactionary forces represented by feudalism, papacy and monarchy, and during that period individualism was supported and the faith was expressed in the revolutionary capacity of the people and rationality of the individual. So the people were given due importance in the democratic political theory, but now people are viewed as masses, a destructive, disorderly, irresponsible, irrational element. So now the capitalism and its political theory, liberalism, is not fighting a progressive battle against an orthodox feudalism or monarchy. Rather, it's busy in crushing the revolutionary demands of the working class. So today the change-seeking general public is no more trusted. It is refused participation in the political system, and the plea that is given is that it's fatal to stability and equilibrium of the established order. So leaders or the elite are regarded as being more trustworthy because they can provide that stability and that equilibrium which is the need of the hour. So the development of man, which was an object of the classical theory of democracy, is being sacrificed for the stability of the system, which is the object of this elitist theory of democracy. So democracy is accepted not as an ideal system anymore, but as a practical and pragmatic system which can produce intended results, and results are in the direction of stability and equilibrium. So it is assumed that a democratic political system can reduce conflict in the society, and it can act as a shock absorber between the struggling classes, and it can provide stability. So in a society, through coordination of different interests, but all this is possible provided the people are kept away from the political system. Leaders are entrusted the task of ruling the affairs of the society, and the political elite competes for the votes of the people. Further on, the elitist theory is based on the realities of contemporary Western liberal societies and democracies, and particularly so on the functioning of the political system of the United States. So classical theory is based on democratic ideals and values like rights, liberty, equality, and development of human personality. Further on, we find the elitist theory justifies inequality on the basis of ability, character, capability, experience, and wealth, whereas the classical theory emphasized the basic equality among the people. Then further, we find that elitist theory does not accept that people's behavior in politics is rational and denied any role to the general people in policy making, whereas the classical theory maintained that the people are capable of rational behavior, and elitist theory encourages political apathy and maintains that people's open participation is injurious to stability, peace, and order of the system. The classical theory supports the open participation of general public in political activities and considers it essential for the development of individuals' personality. Further on, the elitist theory regards democracy as a mechanism to maintain stability and equilibrium in society, and classical theory regard a moral system which aims at all-round development of man. Elitist theory further regards that the will of people as a myth and maintains that it was manufactured by elites themselves. Classical theory gives due importance to the will of the people and maintains that the government must work in accordance with it. And further, we find that elitist theory takes a very narrow view of elections as a process of electing the ruling elite. The classical theory maintains that elections are a medium for the expression of the general will of the people, and through elections, responsible and representative government can be elected. And elitist theory further maintains that responsibility of governing elite to the public, or their responsibility to the governing elite towards the public, is mere myth, because experts, that is elites, cannot be responsible to the ignorance, that is the masses, and the classical theory regards it not only as real but also an important feature of democracy. So this theory rejects the concept of common good, because common good is understood by different people differently. Governments do not serve the common interest, but merely it harmonizes different interests in the society, and the classical theory gives due importance to public interest and common good. And elitist theory believes that majority rule is impossible, and in every society there is and will be the rule of an oligarchic minority. The classical theory believes in majority rule. So elitist theory does not give proper regard to public opinion and maintains that public opinion is molded by the elite, and in this regard, Sartori writes, saying that a present-day totalitarian mass society has no public opinion but only state made opinions enforced upon the public. So elitist theory gives importance to consensus among the people, and classical theory gives importance to consent. So the elitist theory has faith in capacity of the leaders to maintain the people democracy, but the classical theory has faith in people and mistrusts the leaders. The elitist theory maintains that a good democracy needs good elite, and the classical theory maintains that the basis of good democracy is active citizens. And elitist theory is built upon the people's phobia, whereas the classical theory is built upon the leader's phobia. So what we find is elitist theory is conservative because it gives theory of democracy to justify the present socio-economic political system of liberal democracies. The institutional ideal of contemporary democratic necessity lacks the radical bite of the classical theory which was there earlier. So the classical theory has been radical in spirit and critical in approach, and here we find this theory keeps people away from democracy. Now this theory has, in criticism, we find by keeping people away, it robs the people of the opportunity to be part of the system and makes their contribution. Because the theory has no faith in people, rather it has faith in the elite, it discourages people's participation in politics and maintains that political apathy is a virtue, and people's participation, it mars the equilibrium and stability of the system. And generally, it believes that it is misused, their liberty is misused by unscrupulous politicians to fulfill their dictatorial designs. Thus, there are twin dangers of total politics which may disrupt the system, and the totalitarian politics which may eliminate freedom and the privacy. Further, we find in criticism that this elitist theory is conservative theory. The theory is based on conservative values. So instead of suggesting ways to improve the functioning of present-day democracies, this theory justifies malfunctioning itself. So this theory is based on certain conservative values like stability, equilibrium, harmony, consensus, coordination, and changeless. So political apathy, anti-revolutionary nature, and forceful support for the existing liberal socio-economic system. These values are much inferior to the values of classical liberal theory. Further, we find that in criticism, this elites cannot maintain equilibrium in society, because elitist theory emphasizes equilibrium in society, but the notion of equilibrium has been attacked on many grounds. Talcott Parsons and Berylson have emphasized this aspect. They say that the issue of maintaining equilibrium in a conflict-ridden society is an important one, but the high ideals of democracy cannot be compromised for this. This theory does not specifically explain the causes of conflict in a social order, and without this explanation, it is very difficult to achieve a kind of a debate or discussion or mutual exchange of opinion, which is what they vouch for. So the theory does not give any idea of democratic social system. Since it views democracy merely as a political system, this theory does not portray an ideal society. So democracy is concerned with democratic society. A democratic society is one in which there is free play of opinions and in which people freely participate in all the social activities. Now this theory does not give any importance to ideology either. Now this theory is based on institutional aspect of democracy, and it's mainly descriptive in nature. It believes in the end of ideology, the theory, and maintains that ideologies are meaningless because every political system is bound to be governed by the iron law of oligarchy. Now this theory further regards man as the means and democratic political system as an end. Now according to this theory, the object of democracy is not the upliftment, development of human beings. The people should become apathetic in order to provide stability and efficiency to political system. So contemporary Democrats are more concerned with democracy as a functioning system of government than with its direct or indirect effect on the individual. So the classical theory justified democracy on the basis that it's most suitable for the all-round development of human personality. But this elitist theory, it regards man as a means and a democratic system as the end, and which gives little importance to the development of human beings. We also find that this theory gives undue importance to leaders. The classical theory reflects a deep mistrust to the leaders and has has a great faith in the people. But the elitist theory maintains that democracy is possible only when good leaders are there. So the responsibility of maintaining democracy lies with the people. According to elitist theory, this lies with the experts, the leaders and elites. So mere competition between the different elites is not a sufficient guarantee of democracy, nor do the leaders become democratic merely because they are elected. So this theory does not give due importance to public opinion. The classical theory regards public opinion and will of the people as extremely important in a democratic setup, but the elitist theory considers public opinion as meaningless as a basis of government. So in reality, there is nothing public opinion because it is opinion which is manufactured by governmental propaganda. But this view of importance of public opinion is unfounded. Had it been true, the tremendous propaganda and brainwashing efforts during the emergency in India would have been successful. So this theory rejects the principle of social and political equality, and further, the basis of political elite, what should be the basis of entry of elites into political elite, this theory maintains that higher ability is the basis. But ability to do what? The question arises. Does it mean the ability which Machiavelli's prince had, or does it mean an ability, that quality which Plato calls the philosopher kings who possessed, or the ability, does it mean the good looks, physical power, wealth, etc.? Now, can the unadulterated idiot of minister can be regarded as an elite? Now, this theory keeps quiet on these issues and maintains that election will decide about the ruling elite. So, this theory accepts the representative character of the government, but does not agree that government is responsible to the people. How can an expert, able and active elite be responsible to ignorant and passive people? But this view is not true even in real practice. The government is always responsible to the people. The government is questioned not only during the elections. People always question the government, and the government has a reply either by word or by the ballot. So, in spite of all this criticism and its evaluation, we find that this theory reflects the truth, a sad truth concerning the functioning of Western liberal democracies. So, political apathy is rampant among the people in such democracies, but does it mean that an apology in the form of a theory of democracy should be produced to justify it? So, elitist theory of democracy is an apologist theory which tries to present a description, an explanation and a justification for the contemporary liberal political system. The theory presents a poor justification of the crisis-ridden Western liberal democracies. If in order to save democracies, people are kept away from it, then democracy will have no logic of its own, because the logic of democracy is not good governance, it is self-government. Thank you.